Hello everyone, my name is Tina and I am super excited to be here, part of the Spellbinders new monthly release. Today we're going to create 3 Christmas cards. Yes, we are celebrating Christmas in July, and what better way than to use a project kit from Spellbinders. It's called the Glimmer Christmas Kit, and it actually comes with 4 pre-kitted cards, but I'm sharing some extra projects that you can create with the guts of the kit. Here it is. You get 5 sets in here, guys, starting off with the Christmas mix and match sentiments. You get some glimmer plates called the Holiday Sentiment Series 2. You get a glimmer plate called Glimmer Poinsettia. You get a glimmer plate called Christmas Sweater Borders, and last but not least, you can see here the Joyful Christmas Tree, which is a die set. So there's lots and lots in here. You also get a gold roll of foil for your glimmering, and I think it's going to be fabulous. I have my glimmer machine heating off to the right here. We're going to set it aside and grab the Christmas Sweater Borders. We're going to do all of our glimmering at once while our machine is heated up, and then we'll continue on with our projects. The sweater border set is beautiful. You get 3 different sizes of borders, and each one of them have different prints on there, so you can mix and match, and I love that. For all of my glimmering, we're going to use the gold foil that came with the project kit, and we're going to jump in. I like to trim down my foil with my scissors and my ruler. It just makes it easier to get straight strips here. While I trim down my foil, I'll tell you a little bit more about the kits. Now there's more than one kit here, and like I said, each kit has 4 pre-kitted cards. There's instructions, supply list, the whole works. So you can get everything delivered to create 4 cards right away, which makes it fantastic. They take the guesswork out of creating. So all you get to do is, and the mess out of creating, I like to say, because they design it for you. But here are my plates. I played them on my machine, and we're going to use some colored cardstock. Starting off with Cool Pool, we're going to add that to the largest glimmer plate. The second largest, we're going to add our bubblegum cardstock, and then third, we're going to bring in our banana cream. I have 2 extra pieces of cardstock, peaches and cream, and then lemongrass. We're going to do a couple more foils with these borders, but you can see here the result, and isn't it gorgeous? The print is fabulous. I just love these. This is the medium or the small print here. It's kind of crooked, but that's okay. We're going to use the paper trimmer to even it out. And then here is their medium-sized print. So you can mix and match. You can use the same one over and over on solid cardstock. Just sky's the limit with these glimmer plates. I'm going to add my foil, and again we're going to just use our lemongrass and our peaches and cream here, and we'll do these foiling. While this heats up, we're going to bring in the paper trimmer, and I'm trimming down each one of my borders, just basically trimming off the excess cardstock that's on the left and the right. The cardstock that I'm using is from Fun Stamper's Journey. It's available over at the Spellbinder shop, and it's fabulous. Love the Fun Stamper's Journey cardstock. Okay, we have our machine heated up, so we're going to do some sentiment foiling, and I'm going to be using my Holiday Sentiment Series 2 set. I have the Christmas greetings, or no, season's greetings, I'm sorry, and also warm holiday wishes. I'm going to trim down some thin strips of gold foil, and we're going to foil this with white cardstock for our sentiments here. We'll just trim down some thin strips. Once we have our sentiments done, we get to foil our beautiful poinsettia, glimmer poinsettias. They are beautiful, and it's nice because there's a die set that goes with it. And when you foil, what I love about it is when you foil these, it cuts to the foil line, which makes it beautiful. I'm going to trim down some pieces of foil and put them over all of our elements. There's 2 leaves, 3 flowers that you can layer together, and I'm going to again use some colored cardstock. For the largest poinsettia, I'm going to be using peaches and cream. For the second largest, we're going to be using bubblegum. And then for the third largest, we're going to use rustic rose. For our leaves, we're going to bring in our green cardstock, which is lemongrass. So they're all foiled, and I'll die cut them out after a little while. But that's all the foiling that we're going to do. So I'm just going to separate my elements, and we're going to start off with our first card project. We're going to move our machine out of the way here. You can see I trimmed down all of my borders, and for our sentiment we're going to use one of the sentiments in the Christmas Mix and Match sentiment set. This is such a beautiful font. I'm going to die cut out the Winter Wishes with my whipped cream cardstock here. We'll just run this through the die cut machine. After we run this through, you can see I have a panel here. This panel measures 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. It's going to leave me a border on my card base, and I thought this would be the perfect place to add my sweater strips here. The first one's going in the middle, and I wanted to make sure that it was centered. So I'm kind of going to line it up and then trim off the excess, and then the rest of them we'll add after we have our center one adhered. I was going to directly adhere it with glue and then change my mind. We're going to bring in some foam squares and pop up each one of our borders, just so this panel is a little bit higher and it has a little bit of dimension on it. So I'm just lining it up. I'm going to use my scissors and trim off the excess for this piece. The others I wasn't too worried about because I can line them up pretty good. But there's excess overhanging. I'm going to trim that off, and there's a little white border on the very bottom. I'm going to trim that off too. It didn't quite line up to my 5-inch mark, so my panel was probably 3 3/4 inches by, I would say, 4 3/4 inches. And I think that looks fabulous. I would wear a sweater like that. I do have some Journey vellum here. I have a 1.5 inch strip. I'm just going to use my white liner tape and add a thin strip to the left and right of my vellum, and then we're going to basically create almost like a belly band, kind of like a belly band. We're just going to add vellum to that center foiled piece. It's going to tone down the gold foil, but I still wanted you to be able to see it because the pattern on it's just so pretty. So I added my white liner. We're going to adhere it to the center of our cool pool here. Wrap the edges around the back, and you can see how it tones down that gold, but you can still see the pattern. We're going to add glue behind this panel, and it's going to go on a standard A2 size card base. It's going to be a top folding card base, and I think the colors are fabulous. That's the great thing about Christmas in July. You don't have the influence of the red and the greens. You could do lots of different colors, color combinations for your Christmas cards. I'm going to go ahead and add glue behind my Winter Wishes, and I'm going to place it at a diagonal on my vellum. And the camera is really not picking up that glimmer, but it is just stunning, guys. For finishing touches, I'm going to bring in some fashion gold embellishments, and just a few, and I think we're going to call this card good. I love the way it turned out. It's super pretty. For our next card, I have lots of different cardstock sheets here. We're going to create a Christmas tree. I thought this is the neatest thing since peanut butter and jelly, this Christmas tree. It's called the Joyful Christmas Tree, and I thought we would add some bright and fun colors to it. So there's the base of the tree, and then there's an insert you can add to it. I'm going to go ahead and add the largest base piece to my green cardstock. It's the lemongrass. We'll tape that down. And then our next largest we're going to add to Cool Pool, and then we'll add the next layer up with our Rustic Rose. Next layer will be with Bubble Gum here, and then these two layers, the smallest layers, we're going to add to Peaches and Cream cardstock. There is one more layer left. We're not going to use that. I was afraid it wasn't going to fit on my panel, but you could, sky's the limit with this. You could double it up to make a super long Christmas tree if you wanted to. But this is the base of the Christmas tree. I'm going to use my lemongrass to cut that out. And then we have the star and the star topper. We're going to cut that out with banana cream cardstock here. And there's inserts for these two. So you have an itty bitty star, and then you have the outline of it. And we're not going to use our last layering piece. I want to show you the detail in the insert for the base. So we're going to die cut that one out first. I wanted to create a background for it, but we're going to do something a little special. But we'll die cut out this one first, and you can see here it's kind of wonky. I just love that. but isn't it playful and fun? So pretty. Okay, I'm going to take the base die, and then I am going to use some whipped cream sparkle tape. I'm going to kind of create a glittery background, and I love doing it with this tape. It die cuts beautifully, guys. You're going to go ahead and line up your die and run it through your die cut machine, and then you're going to have a nice sparkly background, kind of like creating your own sparkle cardstock. I'm going to use my glue and attach the top piece, and then on the inside of each one of these decorative edges there's going to be some sparkle to my Christmas tree here. And I'm going to go ahead and do this to all of my layers, and then I think it's going to be a bright and cheerful Christmas tree here. Okay, once everything is die cut, I went ahead and die cut out some extra stars too. I have the large ones, which I use gold cardstock behind, and then I have some smaller ones. I'm using the same size panel as I did for card number 1. So it's 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. We're going to take the die that's in our Holiday Sentiment Series 2 set and die cut out a straight sentiment. Love this die because you can't get it crooked. After I have this die cut out, I'm just going to trim the edges on the left and right so it fits the width of my panel. So it's 3 3/4 inches wide. I did add foam adhesive behind it, so that's ready to go. Now we're going to build a pretty bright and cheery wonky Christmas tree. We added our base. Now we're going to go ahead and add our bottom layer, just making sure it's centered from left to right. And you can space these as much as you want, guys. If you wanted to double up on each layer, you could create a tall and skinny card if you wanted to. But I'm going to add my cool pool layer, and then we're going to take our sentiment and sandwich it between the Christmas tree here. I'm just using the grid lines on my mat to make sure it's straight. And then we'll add our next layer, which is rustic rose. After that's adhered, we're just going to continue with the rest of the layers all the way up to the top of our panel. For finishing touches for this, we're going to add some of the smaller stars. I just made sure that each one was a different color on each different layer, and I love the way this turned out. We'll flip this over. I'm going to add glue behind it, and we're going to adhere this to a card base that I created with Cool Pool cardstock. But I think this is a nice cheery Christmas card. Love this. We'll just adhere that, and then card number 2 is good to go. Love the way this turned out. Now for my final card today, we're going to use the poinsettia. I went ahead and die cut it out, and you can see here I love this because when you die cut it out, it die cuts out right to the foil line, so your edges are foiled. It is so stunning in real life, guys. I added foam adhesive between the first 2 layers. My last smallest layer here, I'm just going to use a dot of glue. I didn't want to add too much glue layers because I'm going to pop this up with foam adhesive. But I did die cut out in foil another one of the strips of the sweater borders. It's the smallest one. I used my lemongrass cardstock for that. We're going to adhere this to our same size panel. Seems to be a popular size, 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. But this card's going to be a landscape style card. We're going to adhere this panel directly to our banana cream card base. Once this is adhered, I did add foam adhesive behind my flower. We're going to add that to the left. Fluff up those petals. Actually, they're considered leaves, not really petals. We're going to fluff them up, and then we're going to add our leaves. We're going to add the large and the small. I die cut out, or I glimmered 4 of them, but I'm only going to use 3 for this card. Love the way this turned out. We're going to do a little scooting though. For this sentiment, we're going to use Season's Greetings. I'm going to use my detail shears, and we're just going to fishtail the end here. And then I'm going to add foam adhesive behind my sentiment and tuck it right above the top. Finishing touches, I'm going to use some more of my Fashion Gold embellishments, and that finishes off card 3. Super pretty. Usually, I always say this when I use my Glimmer hot foil system. You don't need to do much because that glimmer is just so stunning. But this is the Spellbinders Glimmer Project Kit. It's the Glimmering Christmas Project Kit, and it is fabulous, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. There's tons more of inspiration and project tutorials over at the Spellbinders blog. I encourage you guys to check it out. You'll have so much fun over there. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a fabulous day. We will see you soon.